In Jonathan Crowe's article, Men and Feminism, Some Challenges and a Partial Response, he explores the relationship of men to feminism, with a specific focus on the balance between supporting the movement and not compromising its gynocentric nature. He emphasizes that the gynocentric nature is a response to the androcentrism of mainstream culture, including prevailing views of justice and fairness. Throughout his article, Crowe outlines the possible challenges that men face in relation to engagement with feminism. He further suggests different approaches men might adopt in terms of individual attitudes and practices that could be advantageous to the feminist project. Crowe's article further brings attention to the prevailing negative attitude men exhibit towards the feminist movement, which can be as a result of misunderstood feminist concerns. Firstly, Crowe identifies what he sees as the most obvious challenge men face when attempting to engage with feminism, that it is not about them. Feminism is evidently exclusively focused on women. In a society that can be seen as androcentric, men can struggle with this concept, as it is unfamiliar and foreign. Crowe continues to outline the fact that men are not used to this as a result of the androcentric culture. He applies Raymond Connell's reference to hegemonic masculinity and states that many men with those ideological, more traditional views of masculinity come to the conclusion that if a viewpoint does not actively further male interests, it must be actively opposed to them. This perspective can be seen as the reason for the above-mentioned challenge men face with engagement. In addition, Crowe touches upon an issue that arises with men engaging with feminism, namely the balance between contribution to feminism and the effect the contribution will have on the gynocentric nature. As Crowe states, this places men in a very ambiguous position, as women determine whether men's opinions and views are heard, another concept that is foreign to most men in the past and present cultural norm. Crowe recommends men learn to be for others. They must enter into a discourse that exists primarily to advance the interests and hear the voices of a group to which they do not belong to. Secondly, Crowe proposes the conception of being to blame as another challenge men face relating to feminism. Men have a defensive mechanism in response to feminism as they feel as though they are being blamed, or even feel as though they are to blame, which can often lead to feelings of guilt, and this can also trigger a defensive response. Crowe explains that the oppression of a woman is at the hands of men, and in order for men to engage, responsibility needs to be recognized. Ultimately, Crowe states men are the deciders when it comes to what part they want to play and can either endorse or contest the patriarchal social order. Crowe touches on the popular ways in which feminism is rejected, specifically denying the existence or scope of the problem, which can be attributed to the existing ways in which feminism is rejected. Firstly, the belief men and women are inherently unequal and there is no current issue. Therefore, denial that a problem exists and no recognition of the scope of the problem that exists in our society today. Moreover, believing equality has already been achieved in our social norm. Thus, denying there is an existing problem and having no reference to the actual extent of the problem. Crowe is correct in expressing that there has been some incremental developments arising from the feminist project. In particular, female voting and the fact women can enter most industries previously dominated by males. It is very important to note that this has not eradicated the issues feminism brings attention to. The scope of the issues is extensive, and in today's society, many issues still arise from the culture that has been installed into men over many generations. Crowe continues to address the need for men to accept responsibility and advance women's rights. However, the above-mentioned ambiguous position men are placed in when determining the balance between contribution and the effect on the gynocentric nature of feminism leaves a vague and cryptic resonance of how men can effectively contribute once accepting responsibility, without watering down the female focus and point of view. Crowe goes on to suggest attitudes and practices that may be useful in achieving engagement with feminism. Firstly, I am not where they are. This is not about me. I can make a difference, and I am here to learn. Men must adopt a female-oriented point of view in order to engage more than just superficially, namely, more than using the objectives to their own advantage. He explains the potentially dangerous concept of searching for similarities in men's own experiences, rather than accepting men cannot have the same experiences as women, and again recognizing that this is not about them, as mentioned above. Crowe, in his article, concludes that gynocentric feminism is a direct result of androcentrism in our culture. Ultimately, Crowe suggests the most effective mechanism for men to engage with feminism is to adopt a gynocentric attitude by altering their egocentric position and the cultural norm that accepts and encourages the centralization of gender. Crowe has successfully highlighted some challenges men may face with feminism engagement. Further, he is correct in stating that the article does not deal with all or nearly all of the issues that arise. The ambiguity males face after accepting responsibility when it comes to effective contribution remains vague, and it seems that there is a fine line between contribution and keeping the genocentrism of feminism. His views on men and feminism are encouraging and bring to light several theories as to why men find it hard and difficult to constructively engage in the feminist project.